Good evening. This is James Exum coming to you from my studio in South Austin, Texas. It's approximately 9:10 in the evening. This is Monday, August the 17th, and tonight I have a very, very special video that I'm recording for you. This one is entitled One Foot in Hell, and it's a parody, of course, but it's also filled with an enormous amount of pertinent data and truth. No one particular person is named in this story, so to speak, but if you listen closely, you should be able to figure out the gist of what I'm relating to you as my viewers this evening. One Foot in Hell, and is authored by an older gentleman by the name of Old Scratch, just like you scratch yourself, and the word old in front, Old Scratch. And not to waste a lot of time, let's go ahead and let my narrator on my word program read the text to you.
One Foot in Hell, authored by Old Scratch. No copyright required. The title is a sardonic variation on the old saying, one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. That saying pictures a person already close to ruin, with whatever balance remains resting on something slick, predestined, and ready to betray him. The plot of this tale is older than Adam, for there is a kind of leader who does not simply stumble into dishonesty. He lives there. He builds a portico on it, hangs a flag over it, invites the crowd to salute it, and then tells them the whole rotten structure is a gilded ballroom. He lies when the truth would serve him better. He cheats when the game is already tilted in his favor. He steals trust from people who can least afford to lose it, then calls their doubt disloyalty. Such a man is not merely flawed. He is a warning sign walking upright. A leader who lies constantly is not playing with words. He is poisoning the well from which the public drinks. Every country, every village, every business, every family depends on a basic agreement that words must mean something. A promise must not be a trap. A signature must not be a disguise. A speech must not be a smoke bomb. When the leader breaks that agreement again and again, he does not only damage his own name, he teaches everyone below him that honesty is for fools and loyalty is owed only to power. Once the public becomes accustomed to the liar gains a second kingdom. The first kingdom is made of offices, seals, signatures, cameras, and cheering crowds. The second kingdom is made inside people's minds, where doubt gets tired and decency starts negotiating with itself. People begin saying, that is just how he talks. He is just the leader being himself, or all leaders do it, or at least he is our scoundrel. That is the moment the bridge begins to crack. A free people cannot survive long on excuses. Excuses are termites. They work in the dark until the floor gives way. Some men cheat because they fear losing. The worst ones cheat because they believe rules are an insult to their importance. They look at law and see a locked door meant for lesser people. They look at public money and see a family account. They look at public office and see a storefront. They look at the people and see customers to be frightened, flattered, divided, and drained. That is not leadership. That is grift with a podium. He learns that if he repeats a falsehood often enough, some will believe it, some will pretend to believe it, and many will simply grow weary of arguing. That weariness is useful to him. He feeds on it. He wants the honest citizen to feel foolish for caring, the journalist to feel endangered for asking, the judge to feel surrounded for ruling, the teacher to feel lonely for teaching, and the child to grow up thinking truth is only the loudest voice in the room. This is how a public lie becomes a private surrender. And when such a leader comes from a long line of grifters, the damage runs deeper. He did not invent the hustle, he inherited it. He learned early that a smile can be a tool, that a handshake can hide a hook, that a penthouse can be polished while the servants underneath it go unpaid. In that kind of household, character is not cultivated. Images. Conscience is not strengthened. Appetite is. The lesson passed down is simple. Take what you can, deny what you took, and when cornered, accuse the honest man of theft. Karma does not always arrive like rolling thunder. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the form of receipts, witnesses, records, old partners turning sour, and loyal servants finally remembering they have souls. The crooked man thinks karma is superstition because he has escaped consequences more often than not. But escape is not acquittal. Delay is not innocence. The universe has a long memory, and so do the people he stepped on while climbing. His life becomes a ledger of small frauds growing into larger ones. Workers stiffed and told to be grateful for the privilege. Creditors delayed until exhaustion looked like settlement. Partners used, blamed, and discarded. Promises made in public and buried in private. Charities treated like stage props. Contracts twisted into weapons. Loyalty purchased with favors and punished the moment it grows independent. Each act may look survivable alone. Together, they become a chain. He learns to cheat in business, then cheats in friendship. He lies in the boardroom, then lies on the stage. He flatters the powerful, then bullies the weak. He borrows the language of faith while practicing the habits of a thief. He calls himself a builder while leaving rubble behind him. He calls himself a fighter while sending others to bleed for causes he only creates for applause and self-enrichment. The pattern does not improve with age. It hardens. That is how downfall begins, not with one scandal, but with 1,000 unpaid moral bills coming due at once. The lie that saved him yesterday becomes the proof that condemns him tomorrow. The accomplice who protected him becomes the witness who betrayed him. The crowd that cheered him begins to hear the hollow place inside the performance. Karma, in the end, is not magic. It is consequence with patience. But no grifter of that size travels alone. Around him gather the clerks of cowardice, the slew of smiling lawyers who know better, the accountant who looks away, the spokesman who launders sewage into perfume, the official who whispers one thing in private and kisses his beefy backside in public, the wealthy friend who mistakes profit for principle, and the frightened follower who trades his own judgment for a seat near the high table. Each one tells himself he is only surviving. Each one calls his small surrender practical. But history has a cruel habit of writing down names. The average person across the world understands this better than experts sometimes do. A mother knows when the shopkeeper has fixed the scale. A worker knows when the boss has changed the numbers on the timesheet. A farmer knows when the buyer smiles too wide and pays too little. A citizen knows when a leader keeps asking for faith but never offers truth. You do not need a law degree to smell a con. You only need to have been cheated once and remember the tart taste of it. The cost of such a man is counted first in money, but it does not stop there. It is counted in the worker who waits for a paycheck that never comes, the small business owner crushed by a contract written like a trapdoor, the widow who trusted a promise, the veteran used as a backdrop, the believer used as a prop, the voter treated like a mark at a carnival game. It is counted in children who learn that bragging beats character, cruelty beats knowledge, and shamelessness is a form of strength. That is the most expensive theft of all, the theft of moral example. Real leadership is not perfect. No human being is. A decent leader can be wrong, can misjudge, can fail, can apologize, can learn. But the chronic liar is different. He does not fall short of the truth. He wages war against it. He does not make mistakes. He manufactures alibis and learns never to apologize. He does not seek correction. He seeks applause loud enough to drown out evidence. He stands before the people with one hand over his heart and the other in the public pocket. That is why this kind of leader is dangerous everywhere. Corruption and authoritarian habits feed each other. Low accountability gives dishonest leaders more room to reward cronies, punish critics, and turn public institutions into private money-making machinery. Constant propaganda can also make people believe that everyone lies, which is one of the oldest tricks of the crooked ruler. If all truth looks dirty, the dirtiest man feels no shame standing in the center of the room. When the liar leader occupies the center of public life, every institution is forced to make a choice. The courts must choose between law and intimidation. The press must choose between evidence and access. The party must choose between country and appetite. The church must choose between conscience and convenience. The citizen must choose between the hard work of liberty and the lazy comfort of belonging to a crowd that never has to admit error. This is why one corrupt soul can become a national demigod. 1 foot in hell is not merely a religious phrase. It is a civic diagnosis. It means a man has brought the heat of damnation into ordinary life. He has made neighbors suspicious of neighbors. He has made cruelty sound brave. He has made greed sound patriotic. He has made ignorance sound like independence. He has made decency look weak because decency is the one mirror he cannot stand to face. The warning signs are plain enough for any street corner in the world. Beware the leader who never accepts blame. Beware the man who calls every witness a traitor, every record a plot, every court a conspiracy, and every loss a theft. Beware the leader whose mercy extends only to his allies, and whose rage falls first on the weak. Beware the man who sells himself as the only answer, because that is how servants of the public try to become owners of the public. No honest leader needs citizens to kneel. The answer is not despair. Despair is what the grifter wants after the last lie has exhausted the room. The answer is memory. Remember what was said. Remember what was promised. Remember who paid the price. Remember who laughed while others paid the bill. A people who remembers cannot be easily hypnotized. A people who writes things down, checks the record, protects the courts, defends the press, and refuses to worship any office holder has already begun to move the other foot back on his solid ground. Here, then, is the Dickens-like lesson of the tale. A life built on falsehood may glitter for a season, but it rots from the heart upward. The miser of truth, the collector of grievances, the employer of fear, and the merchant of empty promises may ride through town in a fine carriage while hungry faces watch from the curb. He may dine beneath chandeliers while unpaid hands polish the floors. He may call himself blessed while blessing no one but himself. Yet the old moral law keeps lurking behind him, patient as winter, until every locked room opens and every hidden account is read aloud. King Midas belongs in this warning as well. He thought the golden touch would prove his greatness, but it exposed his poverty of soul. Everything he touched became treasure, and then treasure became torment. Food, drink, human warmth, and finally love itself turned cold under the weight of his wish. So it is with the grifter leader who reaches for every coin, every favor, every advantage, every applause line, and every throne of influence he can grab. His hunger makes the world smaller. His victories become molten metal in his mouth. What he calls success becomes the curse that leaves him surrounded by gold and starving for grace. The lesson is not that wicked men never rise. They often do. The lesson is that rising is not the same as escaping. A man may climb by stepping on backs, but the backs remember. A man may fill his house with gold, but gold cannot warm a loveless room. A man may demand silence, but not peace. In the end, the poor he mocked, the workers he cheated, the friends he betrayed, and the truths he buried all gather in the street of memory. They do not need revenge. They only need the door to open and the daylight to come in. If Dickens taught anything, it is that society is judged not by what its rich men say over antique tables, but by what happens in the alleys, factories, counting houses, debt courts, sick rooms, and cold kitchens where ordinary life is made hard by another man's greed. The villain of such a tale always believes he is too clever for the ending. He thinks the poor are scenery, servants are furniture, workers are numbers, and the law is merely another servant waiting for his instructions. Yet the story keeps moving. The candles melt down. The footsteps come up the stairs. The ghost of every cheated soul takes a seat in the witness's box. So the tale closes where all such tales must close, with the mask slipping, the accounts opening, the crowd thinning, and the great man discovering that applause is not absolution. He may have spent a lifetime confusing noise with honor, wealth with worth, fear with respect, and victory with virtue. But the final court is not fooled by furniture, flags, titles, or gold trim on the doorway. The final court is memory sharpened by truth. And when that court convenes, the grifter finds that the sentence was being etched all along, line by line, in every victim's memory he damaged on the way up. The world does not need perfect leaders. It needs accountable ones. It needs men and women who understand that power is borrowed, not owned, that truth is a duty, not a tactic, that public office is a trust, not a crime family's business. A leader who lies constantly, cheats whenever he can, and treats public life like an inherited scam may still command a crowd, still sell the show, still dress the grift in flags and hymns and slogans. But let him be warned. There is a silence deeper than applause, a darkness patient beyond denial, and a judgment that waits behind every sealed door he thought would never open. That foot already planted in hell will not remain alone forever. Surely the other soul, slick with fraud and gliding on the slime of his own making, shall suddenly, without warning, slide homeward at last, passing through the gate of hell, marked with the ominous words, "Leave behind all hope, you who enter."
Canto 3.
Dante's Inferno.
There it is. I didn't realize that the narrator would change voices when pronouncing the Canto 3 of Dante's Inferno. But that is the phrase written in that canto in Dante's book, The Inferno. Leave behind all hope, you who enter. The modern variation on that most people remember and think is the truest form is leave behind all hope. No, excuse me, it's abandon all hope, ye who enter here. But that is the direct quotation from the canto. So there we have it. There it is. And so now let's go back and kind of reminisce about what we just heard. You know, I will I will have to say, in modesty, which is hard for me to say anything in modesty, uh, because my muse is very generous and very kind to me. I would have to say that that will rate as one of the top 10 of my writing efforts. Having written that and then listened to it all the way through for the first time. I did some incredibly heavy editing on that piece. Almost all day long I worked on it. Well, after lunch on I worked on that. And here we are at 9:28 in the evening, Austin time. There's a lot in there to think about and quite a bit to digest. I used a lot of onomatopoeia in there, which is, like babbling brook and the soul sliding and things like that, using the same beginning to words. I used a little bit of iambic pentameter, which was Edgar Allan Poe's favorite way to write a verse. He did the Raven in iambic pentameter. And listening to me, I'm sure you're figuring out that I'm a student of literature and writing techniques, along with several other things, being a polymath, art and engraving, and goldsmithing, silversmithing, sculpting. There's quite a few things I've challenged myself to learn and mastered in my life. And that's not brag, that's just fact. But this one is one of my better ones, one of my better narratives that I've written. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, tell your friends and family about it and be good and kind to others. And remember, as I always say near the end, I do variations of the same, but life may not be exactly what you're wanting it to be at this moment, but no matter how dire or depressing it seems to you, the other older saying from time immemorial is, this too shall pass. So I'll say good night to you. Thank you for your attendance, and I'll see you in my next video. Good night.